Hi, everybody. I'm Tom
Hey there.
Mirabile. I am the founder of Springboard. Sorry, my cheat sheet just fell over. Um, it wouldn't be me if something didn't go wrong, right? Hold on a sec. All right. Okay. So, I'm the founder of Springboard Futures, and thank you all. We have a record size audience today, and I really appreciate that. Um, we have been, I was just thinking a minute ago, we've been alive, active for 32 days. And it feels like possibly, I hope the last 32 days of my life feel as long as this. It's been an incredibly long 32 days. It feels like a year. And in a lot of really good ways, and for a lot of very unfortunate reasons. But Springboard was formed to bring its subscribers sort of basically the smartest people. I think, the difference between us and a lot of other consumer and style trend forecasting agencies is that we really try to bring you constant content and also to bring you opinions from the marketplace that are experts. And I think today is a great example of how we do that. So today is part 3 of a 3-part webinar, and we're calling it Mastering the Modern Marketplace. What we wanted to do was, in this final segment, was to bring you the heads of various markets and to talk to them about the questions that we've been hearing, the things that we want to know, the things we know you want to know, and to give them a chance to respond and sort of tell us what they're doing. But before we do any of that, let me introduce you all. So let's start off with Dorothy Belshaw. She is the Executive Vice President and the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer for International Market Centers. Welcome, Dorothy. Next, we have, not necessarily in this order, we have Tim Hart, who, if you're in gallery, is your bottom left. And Tim is the Senior Vice President of Retail for Emerald Expositions, New York Now in particular, we're talking about today. We also have Jesse James, the founder of Shop Object. Hi, Jesse. And we have Leana Salamah, who is the Vice President of Marketing for the International Housewares Association.
Hello.
And then finally, we have Joan Ulrich. Joan is the EVP of leasing for the Dallas Market Centers. Hi, Joan.
Hi.
So, I keep knocking this thing over. So, we wanted to talk about where the markets are, where they're going. Clearly, we're in a place we haven't been before. And so a lot of people have questions. And, I guess I wanted to sort of start off just with you, Dorothy. Can you just give us a sense of what are some of the biggest day-to-day challenges you've been dealing with, and how are you handling that?
Well, I would say for the last couple of weeks, the last 4 weeks, we've really been focused on initially complying with any demands to close our buildings in the various cities that we operate in, High Point, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and then communicating those closures, ensuring that our tenants still had access to their showrooms. And then we began the process of identifying what the needs would be for our tenants to sort of get through the first 90 days, really the first 3 months is what we focused on. So developing some relief options and communicating those. We committed to kind of communicating one-to-one with each of our several thousand customers, and we're working through that process as a company and extending the level of support that they need. Also, mobilizing some of our digital platforms that exist today, so market planning sites, and then ShopZio, which is a marketplace site that we acquired in January, trying to enable those platforms to help people reach buyers during this kind of difficult time. And now we kind of turn our attention to the future, which is market planning, which is kind of the next most important issue that we will grapple with. And I can talk more about that later or now.
So, let's stick to the light stuff for the moment. Believe it or not, that was the light stuff. Leana, I wanted to sort of direct this at you because we were working together, just before the IHA show got canceled, and there was a big wave of wow, what do we do? What do we do? And
Yeah.
I really liked what Peter Giannetti said about, the only option that we don't have is to not move forward. That
Right.
we've all faced sort of tactical atrophy, and that we have to make some choices. But what are some of the things that you've done with, IHA's exhibitors or their, your subscribers, your members, to sort of keep them active, to serve them while we're in this position right now?
Yeah, so I mean, you asked the question to Dorothy about the last month or 4 weeks, and we canceled the show, I believe, 2 months ago, and the first thing we had to do was begin the process of kind of unwinding all of the different things about the show that were in motion, all of our contractual obligations and all of our logistics and things that were getting ready to go out there. During that time, we also recognized the need to continue to get information about new products and innovation, about education, everything out to the marketplace. So, we already post our educational sessions. We just went ahead and did them a little bit earlier than usual. And in some cases had folks, rather than just post the presentations, had them actually get online and record a webinar for us so people could benefit from the narrative portion of it as well. And then our digital team kind of jumped into motion and created a series of product galleries. We have a number of different curated displays at the Inspired Home Show that were due to be up and running, and we've gone ahead and turned those into various digital display galleries. And the last thing I would say,
you went forward with product awards too. I thought it was really great because it was a very positive thing, and there was a lot of buzz around it that who won and what those products were, and it was something very positive. It was like sort of spoke to the future, which I really liked.
Yeah, we're actually doing a live stream announcement of the winners. So the finalists are all posted, have been announced, and we are live streaming the announcement of the winners this Thursday, April 23rd, via Facebook and our website at, I believe, 10 a.m. Central Time. So that'll be exciting, something nice for the industry.
Yeah, I think that's great. Jesse, you too. I was particularly impressed with what you did on your site, in part because I love crafting. Like if I ever had time, I would do more of it. But I actually was able to make masks for my family using one of the DIY things that was posted on your site. I'm just curious how you got to where you got with it, because it's one of those things that when you go and you see it, it has nothing to do with the show really. It's about where we are right now, and it seems like a site that I would go to not knowing anything about Shop Object. So where did that inspiration come from? How did you gather your people to create something like that?
I mean, honestly, I think it was really spontaneous. We all found ourselves in the middle of this unprecedented moment, and I think we were thinking a lot about relevance and what kind of information we could share that would be of some value, and not just feel repetitive or silly or unnecessary in a moment when we're all inundated with so much information and our inboxes are overflowing with efforts to stay connected, but many of them are saying the same things. But in particular, I think the e-blast that you're referring to that resulted in some posts on Shop Talk, which is the blog portion of our website, we just discovered through our direct communication with many of our exhibitors and also through Instagram how immediately and spontaneously so many of our exhibitors really found ways to change their operation and focus on being helpful in this moment. And I was in awe of how universal that effort was. And of course, so many of the exhibitors at our show took it a step further and didn't just recalibrate their production to make masks, but actually thought about design and innovation and ways that they could produce things that were leaving no waste, and that people could do at home. Several of our exhibitors completely transformed their production rhythms to create product for hospitals and to create product that they were donating where it's most of need. So it wasn't a big strategy meeting. It was really, we're a small team, and we just didn't want to be a voice repeating unnecessary information, and we really wanted to find a way to reflect the value of our community and what people were doing in real time to address this.
Congratulations, because it does not look like a small team. It looks amazing. It's really, really beautiful.
Really
Joan, what about you? What are some of the things that you've done to sort of respond to, respond to the needs, and what needs are being expressed by your community?
Well, I think the biggest challenge with all of this is the uncertainty that, we're trying to make definitive decisions when you don't really know what the end game is or what the timeline is. In Dallas, we serve a lot of different industries: lighting, gift, home design, our temporaries, apparel, and their needs and their questions are all different. So we've been spending countless hours as a team on one-on-one conversations with our showrooms, which have been so beneficial. But we have some good news. I mean, just to kind of talk about how quickly things change. On Friday, our governor issued a number of executive orders. And, part of the challenge is hearing this on Friday and then trying to figure out, what does this mean for us? Right. So in Texas, he opened up retail for curbside delivery. He opened up the parks, opened up the craft stores, which is a lot of big customers that we expect will be opening within a week or so. And what this means for our customers is, and we've been working with our attorneys to make sure that we interpret the governor's executive order correctly. But our design showrooms will be able to be open for curbside pickup. So they can sell to the design community and their clients. They can't come in the building, but they can pick up what they need for those people that have in-stock inventory. So that will start. And again, on our attorney's advice, we believe that our tenants will be able to start using their showrooms again, effective this Friday. So our building won't be open for the public, but our showrooms who have permanent badges will be able to come in and support our retailers who are now open for curbside delivery. Wow. So that is great news. And of course, when they're in here, they're going to need to, follow the county's, health directives and social distancing and, all of the things that we would expect. But, it's good news that, we see some light, right? And
crafting has become an essential function.
Right, exactly, right, absolutely. And so for our showrooms and customers that are listening, this should be good news, and it'll be followed up with some, with some information from us.
So are you doing anything particular when things open back up? Are you doing anything at the mart itself to make people feel safer, more comfortable? Are you, what are you doing as far as? That's
where the bulk of our planning is, where our time is being spent. Just, how we handle registration, how we handle food, shuttles, where we have the benefit of, we've got 2 different escalators that service our buildings. So they, there's a certain amount of social distancing that can occur naturally. And, so we'll be addressing that on a day-to-day basis, but also as the markets, as the market comes, all of our planning is around that.
I hope you'll share with us, share with everybody what the concerns were when people got back, because that's really useful information. Tim, let me ask you a question. One of the questions that we're getting, of course, is because Javits is currently a field hospital, people are looking for some sense of security that once it goes back to being a functional market center for some of our biggest shows, can we feel secure that it's going to be a safe place to work again, when it opens back up? I think we don't know the answer, but I think we want to hear you say it anyway.
Sure. Well, before I address it, Tom, first of all, thanks for putting together this panel. It's great to have the chance to be with you and my fellow panelists to kick some of these ideas around. So thank you very much. I think on Javits, the first thing to say is we should call out the fantastic work that our partners there have been doing to provide extra hospital bed capacity in New York during this time. I know the team that we work with there every day have been working alongside the Army, the National Guard and others to get Javits up and running as a hospital in New York City. Very grateful for that. So I think that's the first point I'd like to make. I understand, of course, it's unsettling for some people to think about returning to a convention centre that did house COVID-19 patients, and that's a natural concern to have that we share. We, of course, have discussed that with Javits at some length, and the venue will, of course, be thoroughly sanitised by Javits and the Army before it's turned back into a convention centre. Understand the preparation for that has already begun. So what I think is a natural concern, I think everyone should be reassured that when Javits is returned to convention centre, it will certainly be in a sanitary state.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. So I'm going to toss this out, and you can take this in whatever order, whoever raises their hand first. But one of the other things that we've been getting a lot of questions about is what, when we know that when we come back that the new normal is going to be, diminished revenue for a lot of, especially smaller businesses, diminished traffic for, businesses on the street and for markets initially. I think that we can also count on things being tighter. The average person's wallet's going to be a little bit more strained. And so what in any of your opinions does that mean for market frequency? Have you been considering, lowering the number of markets in any given region for a year? Leana, you can't really change because you've only got one. So, but there are multiple markets, inside DMC or inside America's Mart where you have different categories of business, different families of business operating at different times. Are there considerations for reducing frequency to make it possible for people to, explore markets in a less expensive way? Where instead of having two markets, maybe have one, or any of that?
I'll just start with that. I think that if anything, we'll probably go the opposite direction, because people are concerned about crowds and being near in crowds and all the anxiety that comes with that. So we'll continue to do a full market schedule, but our day-to-day business becomes more important, because if somebody is really freaked out about shopping a market, they can come during the week and visit with those gift or home design showrooms that are open every day, and other smaller events like a first Monday and Tuesday, which are popular here in Dallas, I think will be will draw more attendees for that same reason. And, we'll continue with design weeks and, special buying opportunities to give our showrooms as many opportunities as possible to write business.
All right. Anybody else?
I would essentially agree with Joan. I think there is so much that's still unknown, and I think how frequently stores want to refresh their assortments, and I think how they want to engage with vendors is really going to dictate how we all can best serve the market, which is why the continued conversations that we're all having with our customers and retail outreach is critical in terms of how we can best service and accelerate recovery. But I would agree with Joan that I think in order to adhere to social distancing and create markets that feel safe, they may either need to be extended in terms of number of days, traffic may need to be controlled by day, and there may need to be more opportunities according to what the buying needs are and how retailers want to be serviced. I think digital will play an enhanced role as a result. So vendors that are set up from a B2B commerce perspective, either on a proprietary platform or a broader marketplace, that's going to be important for replenishment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tom, just to add to that, Tom, I'd say that our first priority is going to be creating an environment that is safe, so buyers are confident they can come into the show environment and do business successfully, but B, be safe. And I think Emma, one of the things we've done is we've formed a task force across the company to brainstorm ideas for what a safe post-COVID-19 environment looks like at an event, be that broader aisles, temperature checks on the way in, one-way aisles, more appointment setting. There's a myriad of ideas that can be implemented to create that safe kind of event. I don't think we quite know what the final answer is yet, but there's no doubt in my mind the physical environment will be different. The other point is to pick up on Dorothy's point. I think we've known for some time with digital that buyers buy online and they buy offline, and trade shows and market centres are not islands, and the online and offline needs to work together in a symbiotic way. Yeah. So I think that we'll increasingly see that hybrid market over the next months and years.
You're leading into my next question, but Jesse, you wanted to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that I think that, both Joan and Dorothy are in unique positions because their markets take place in market centers and buildings where they have that opportunity. And I think that makes perfect sense for them to be able to offer more opportunities for people, whether it's more regional or people that are passing through those various places, to be able to come in and experience product. And that sort of ties into something we've been thinking about a lot, which is that, certainly within the shop object community, a lot of the brands or makers are a little closer to the production line in the things that they're producing. And in many ways, they're not thinking about things. There's sort of a reimagining of this season concept that we all have been living with in the gift home world of 2 seasons a year. And I think people are producing product as they're inspired, as they're able to, and releasing things outside of those schedules. And that's something that certainly we're thinking about and have been thinking about prior to this, tapping into online and in a digital format. And, recognizing that things are made by real people, and sometimes stock needs to be replenished and people run out of things, and you have new ideas, not just in February and August, but throughout the year. And so I think there will be an opportunity to break away from that schedule a little bit. I do think that the markets will need to be there for people to come and be with others in person, but probably people will make choices about where they're going to travel and how frequently they're going to travel, and they'll decide where they need to be and where they want to be. But I think we all need to be thinking about new ways to bring.
I love the idea of I love the idea of inspiration guiding introductions, and just because new ideas do come up all the time. And this has kind of taken us off our schedule. So many people are saying, well, this is kind of a kick in the pants on so many levels. Like, let's make the most of it because it's changing anyway. And you had said something the other day that I did want to bring up because I thought it was fascinating. You said, whenever we get back into this, the first market we're back into it, it's going to be tough. And I really like that, because I think that it's something that's going on in all of our heads, but we can't let that first market be, we can't let the fact that it may be rough physically or the hybridization of markets, it's going to happen, and I think that preparing ourselves for it makes it so much easier to deal with. No, you're not going to go back up to full capacity, or even to last year, right away.
Yeah, you always need to take that first step. And the first step comes before the second. And we might need different things out of this first market season together. We might need to just see each other's faces and have conversations and reconnect. And it will be different. It will not be the same as it was, last time. But we'll all change in that process. And I just keep thinking about how necessary this first market will be. And it will be whatever it is. It will be completely unique. There will never be anything like it again. And then we'll be on to the next one and the next one. So I think we all just need to be prepared to be a little imperfect and to be, ready for whatever it brings us.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Tom, if I may. I completely agree. I do not think that we will really know what the new normal is for quite some time yet. I really think that, when people first get back out to markets, it may be just that. It may be just the, unbridled joy of being able to see each other and, have face-to-face conversations again. And then the year after that, then that novelty has worn off, and then people will behave differently. And all the while, we're already seeing consumers changing what they're looking for, what they're asking for, what they're shopping for. And all of that, some may be temporary, some may be permanent. There's just so many things that are going to change probably over the next, probably 18 to 24 months, because the first time back at market won't be the same as the second time back at market.
Well, I think what you're talking about, though, is not to plug Springboard, but I mean, one of the things that we're doing together is that we've amped up, consumer information, so that what's in consumers' heads, and it helps you do the type of mid-season or between market introductions and keep product that stays aligned with consumers. I think that all markets are, we were feeling already coming this whole thing about, I don't need another fill in the blank. And I think this has really pushed consumer centrism right to the fore, where we have to know, especially after this, what's the value equation now? What is the new normal? Because the new normal, even at our next market, may be different from the new normal, another 4 months down the road. And I think that state of evolution and not taking for granted what we understand about the consumer is so important. It's what it'll be our next evolution. And if there's another one after that, again and again and again. But let me use what you said. The minute you said, the next year, I thought it's a perfect transition for me, because let's talk a little bit about the digital marketplace, whether it's, whether it's augmented reality or whether it is, a completely digital marketplace. What is a virtual marketplace of tomorrow? Are you seeing more movement to that? Are you getting more requests? This goes to any of you, and how are you responding to those? And what do you see, what are your thoughts on it?
If I could, the virtual trade, the idea of a virtual trade show, which is maybe a little different than a digital marketplace, but has been around my entire career. I mean, when I was at agencies, 20 years ago, and I had event clients, we would talk about, all of these virtual trade shows they were going to put on. I mean, there will never be any real replacement for face-to-face and for seeing things in environment and in curation. But I do think that what's happened is that, this crisis has forced a lot of people to get creative and to start thinking about new ways to do this. So I am very hopeful that we come out of this with a lot of new ways to extend into that 365 days a year mindset that I think event organizers have been trying to get into for, at least throughout the entirety of my career.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen happening, and we've done a fair amount of research over the last several years on this, is, and I think maybe it was Tim that mentioned this, but buyers it's channel agnostic. It's not like there are folks that buy online and folks that buy at trade shows and folks that buy from reps on the road. It's, all of those channels have to work together, because most buyers want to buy the way they want to buy at the time that they want to buy it. And so they're really working through all of the channels. The balance of those channels is shifting a little bit. But for new product introduction, markets still, we're not a commoditized industry. We're a design industry across gift and home and apparel. And so the touch and feel is really important. We're also a really relational industry. So knowing the vendor, knowing the maker, knowing their ability to produce, knowing that they can ship, those kinds of relationships really are important, and face-to-face really cements them. But I think the ease of replenishment and the ease of buying across a larger line package, that still will be facilitated by road reps. And then the serious ease of replenishment in the middle of the night will be facilitated, by digital. And I think they do need to Leana's point, they do need to work together. And they do need to amplify each other. They can, if they're properly coordinated. Each one should be able to increase the value of the other channel.
Jesse, you want to say something?
Well, I think that certainly as a trade show, what we are able to offer online will be a really important add-on, and certainly filling the gap in between markets and finding a way to engage with people and provide easy ways for them to replenish is super valuable. But I also feel like this pandemic has forced so many of us to enter the online sphere in a way that many weren't planning to or prepared to. I think a lot of our retailers are catapulted into doing business through online sales in a way that they never intended to or wanted to. There are people out there that have always been good at online business or were designed for online business, but certainly in my world, the core customer is a brick and mortar customer. And now, because of this, they're forced to engage in online marketing and online sales. And consumers who were happy to spend their dollars by walking into a store and avoided buying things online, I'm one of those people who didn't really do that. We've gotten really comfortable with buying things online now, and it's become a new reality. So there is this thinking that I'm having around really encouraging people to recognize that you can still shop small online, and that you don't have to go to the behemoths to and get involved in buying things and having them shipped to you. And in many cases, they're not the fastest. Right now, Amazon is not the fastest way to get goods into your home in every case. Buying from a small business, there's a store, Salt and Sundry, that we sell to in Washington, D.C. that did, was in an article in the Wall Street Journal about how, you know, they were able to supply people with a mix of goods for gifting overnight when Amazon was on back order for weeks. So I think we just want to be in this new moment thinking about this online reality that we're getting more and more comfortable with, and being thoughtful about spending our dollars online with smaller businesses. And I know I switched it around to the kind of consumer mentality a little bit, but I think that's part of what we all need.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think, you know, I always say context is everything. I don't think you can create a differentiated assortment without getting the context of all the great products that you see at market. And there's so much, you know, there's so much socialization. There was a, I think we shared this with your team, Dorothy. You know, we were looking at a survey, a trade show survey earlier in the year, end of last year, and 68% of buyers show up at trade shows to learn about product. You know, not even to buy it, but to just learn about product, learn about new materials and new techniques. And that's not something you're necessarily going to get. Also, I think there's an ingrained sort of suspicion of, okay, is the market or the vendor pushing at me what they want to move versus what I might choose if I was there? You know, so I don't think it's replaceable. But I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunities, you know, in entry in that. It's an acuity we have to have.
Tom, I think it's also worth thinking a little bit about how the online presence could potentially strengthen the trade show. Because there could be smaller businesses who have recently come into the market who are working online, an online marketplace, perhaps haven't considered going to a trade show, found a trade show too intimidating, too expensive, but the online could be the starting point, and then perhaps the trade show could become an opportunity later and would actually strengthen the diversity and breadth of the trade show. So, you know, I truly believe the online and the offline should work together and are mutually reinforcing.
I agree. Joan, any comments?
I'd just say that I think everybody's made some really good points. You know, you need to be in the marketplace in all the channels that are available. That it amplifies, you know, say a showroom presence or a trademark, a trade show presence. At DMC, we've been looking at a solution for a number of years, and you know, we're looking for something that was seamless, that has data security, and that's wholly integrated. And we're getting very close to making an announcement, so stay tuned.
Cool. Well, actually, so since we're talking about announcements.
Yeah.
Dorothy,
we were.
Well, now we are. I want to be like Barbara Walters. I want to get everybody to like kick in something they didn't mean to say. Dorothy, you are about to announce or announcing today that IMC is undertaking a major retail survey, a survey of basically retail research to sort of help people with information that they need to move through this period and to sort of move on afterwards. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I was really excited. I think it sounds amazing.
Sure. I mean, it was born out of necessity as we kind of turned to face the decision-making process around summer markets. and had so many people asking us what's going to happen, when are they going to happen, are you going to do them, how are you going to do them? And rather than make it up, because, you know, we are all on sort of shifting sands right now. I mean, what you think are the set of circumstances today may not be the same set of circumstances in 3 days. So we felt that we really needed to have data, a lot, as much as we could possibly get our hands on. And so we're going to issue the survey to all qualified registrants and buyers from the last probably 3 years, provided they're still active, across all of our markets. So High Point, Las Vegas, Atlanta, across furniture, gift, home decor, design, and apparel. And while, you know, there are some variances and differences in the way those verticals will answer questions, the crux of what we're trying to get at is, first of all, from our perspective, benchmarking, creating a baseline for what's going on at retail today. Are you open? Are you closed? Are you doing curbside? Are you selling anything? If you are, what is it? Are you sourcing product right now? If you are, how? How much longer if things don't resolve? Do you think you can keep your doors open? I mean, some hard questions. And we hope that retailers will be open and honest. So we want to understand what the situation looks like today, because we'll roll those questions out again in a month and in 3 months and in 6 months, so that we can really track recovery as it happens kind of in real time. Then we'll ask questions about sourcing once restrictions lift. How do you think you're going to do most of it? Is it going to be digital? Is it going to be with your rep? Is it going to be at market? I think we'll find ourselves, Leana, you mentioned that people will so crave personal connection when this is all over, but then there also will be restrictions and a fearfulness about it. So we want to really understand how retailers feel about it. And then what is your relative comfort level? Kind of what's your travel sensitivity 30 days after, 60 days after, 90 days after? And what can markets be doing to mitigate that? Is it about distancing? Is it about staying in a hotel? You know, are we really needing to just focus on drive-in for a period of time, all of us? And what do those drive-in radiuses look like? So it's really hopefully going to inform if we can have market and when and how.
Are any of the questions related to travel budgets, or how many people will be attending market, if there's changes in that?
Well, we'll see a little bit of that. I mean, the numbers that we'll reach out to both buyers and decision makers at the larger stores, and then owner operators at the smaller stores. And yes, we will inquire about budget. So sensitivity and budget. And then, you know, we'll continue to track that and see if those will change over time. And then, you know, how late can a market take place, a summer market take place, and still be relevant for the fourth quarter? You know, to Jesse's point, things may be shifting, and you know, it may not be the same way that people shopped before. But if you feel like you're going to need seasonal product for fourth quarter, what's the latest that you could come to market and it would make sense and be relevant? So that'll go out tomorrow on a rolling basis over the next couple of days. We should have top line results in the beginning of May. We're going to publish them broadly industry-wide, because I think it's of value to everybody as everybody makes their decisions. You know, we do have heavy concentration in certain parts of the country, but it is a national audience by and large, and from really large retailers, top 100s, all the way down to really tiny ones, single door, owner operator, independent businesses, across all the major verticals. And we'll be able to slice it by region, and by primary category interest, and by company or retail size. So I think it'll be valuable. I really hope people answer it, because it is really hard for all of us to make the best decision without information.
Well, I say thanks for many people. I mean, that type of information it's so needed right now. It's just it's tremendous that you're doing that, and it's tremendous that you're sharing it. And you know, so thank you. I mean, that's just great. It's something we can really act on. You know, there's so many things you hear that are just, you know, I mean, we've talked about some of the things we've been seeing out there that just aren't actionable. it's annoying. Actually, it raised another question. So one of the things that was really interesting that came up in the media segment, the last webinar that we did, was the idea of people coming up with like people who seem tone deaf, people who seem tone deaf, whether it was the way retailers were marketing promotions, or wholesalers were trying to do certain types of business via email, and it just seemed insensitive. Is there anything that any of you would say don't do right now? Like, any piece of advice on how to be sensitive to where we are, right now, whether that's to manufacturers or suppliers, or whether it's to retailers?
I would say don't try to capitalize on this situation. In addition to Shop Object, we share an office with my other business, which is a showroom, Aesthetic Movement. And as a showroom, I'm a tenant of Dorothy and IMC's in Atlanta and Las Vegas. Super appreciative of that survey, by the way. I'm glad to piggyback on the knowledge that you bring to the table through that, which will be incredibly helpful. But, someone reached out to us last week for representation that was a kind of large company that had created a separate line of face masks that had everything from an American flag to keep calm and carry on, any kind of image or message you could imagine. And I didn't even know how to respond to it. It just felt so off to me, to be creating a company in this moment based on this need. Felt very tone deaf, and obviously I won't name them. But I think this is just not a time to be capitalizing on the uncertainty or the difficulty that we're all facing, and rather to reflect the best of our community and try to be bringing good product out that's useful and helpful and meaningful to people, and not just speak for the sake of it. Don't just get messages out there because you don't want to be forgotten. Think about what you can share that's of value, and I think that's kind of the big takeaway for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many things that have come out that just kind of slap the, wow, these times are really hard, aren't they? And then just go along with kind of a traditional marketing message. And I think it goes back to the idea of understanding, exactly right, is understanding what people need, whether it's, a supplier to a retailer or a retailer to a consumer, and, crafting around that, right? What I don't need right now? A new car. What I do need? I need toys and games and things to occupy my kids, and, these types of things. So those folks who have products go to that, that speak to those consumer needs, I think can do it maybe a little more forthrightly. I
think even beyond that, one of the things that really, and it's been showing up, I think Warren Schulberg said something about it, but a lot of other people are just bringing it up, ad hoc, and that is, it's this, this constant, in it together, we're here for you, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I believe in the sentiment, but I feel like I just want to say to people, okay, I don't need you right now. I need, my family, my friends to get well, but when this is all over, I am going to need you. So be careful what you promise, because I'm going to expect you to live by that when I really do need you, when I need you to pull back on some of the markdown allowances, or I need you to, accept the fact that I had to let some people go maybe, and let me shift services a little bit differently. I think that we all have to be very careful about what we promise right now, because we're going to be held to that promise on a lot of different levels that we cannot even imagine now. So it's just sort of a, we can't let that "we're here for you" disappear. It's instilled a lot of meetings like this. I mean, you all probably, it'd be a gang fight if it weren't for this. Like competing shows, and you're all sitting at the same table, and you're all participating and sharing, and like what Dorothy's doing with the survey information, and it's created some really tremendous communications, and I think that we've got to stick with that alone after this is all, after this is over. I just think it started some really good conversations.
And I would just second that. I don't know if this falls into the tone deaf bucket, but I was saying that I'm on the phone, 8-9 hours a day talking to our customers. And I think that the coronavirus has given us this unique opportunity to get to know our customers in a way that we never would have otherwise, just to learn more about their businesses and their challenges and their opportunities, in a very condensed time frame. In a week, I talked to hundreds of people, and that's not typical, unfortunately. So a silver lining is this opportunity to get to know people in a much more meaningful way.
I think I'd add to that, Joan. I think we've really been talking internally about how it's not about selling right now. That's not appropriate. Everyone's facing a huge cash crunch. It's more about service, understanding people's needs. What can we do to help? And one of our sales managers jokingly said that her role's become more of a therapist than a salesperson because she's hearing a lot of challenges customers have. And I think it's a tough time, but it's really good we have the chance to build that relationship and get close to our customers and speak to hundreds of people over a short period of time. We've taken to hosting Zoom calls of certain groups of customers so we can connect and build the relationship and hear those needs. So I do think it's a silver lining that we're all socially distant, but we're becoming really close through technology, which is fantastic.
I think one of the things that's showing up a lot in research right now is it's incredibly, it just blows my mind that it's not like a war. It's not like anything that's ever happened to any of us before, because even in war times, you don't have people experiencing the same thing in much the same way at the same time. So it's, if we look at a war, you've got parents experiencing it differently than children do, than couples do, than people who are on the front lines. Here, we're all on the front lines. We're literally under the same roof, experiencing the same thing that our vendors are experiencing, that our suppliers, that our retailers. So it creates, there's no afterwards where you try to talk to somebody about it and you ask them for something and they didn't go through what you went through. We're all going through it together, and it's creating a tremendous sense of camaraderie, but a tremendous sense of shared responsibility as well, which is great. I'm going to take a question because I know her. So Kim Pettigrew, you wanted to say something. So I'm going to open you up. Hold on a second. I have you muted, so hang on.
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell us who you
Hi,
are.
guys. Thanks for, actually, I got through, Peter Shoppe invited me to this webinar, or Zoom call or whatever. So anyway, I hope y'all can't see me because I've been eating my lunch. We're a little delayed in Dallas. I just wanted to give a separate kind of, it's not really a question, just an observance. Obviously, I'm in Dallas, Texas. I own in detail the showroom that's located in the Dallas World Trade Center. And the thing about the mask that you said, Jesse, that you felt that it was inappropriate. Well, in Dallas, we are under this mask ordinance, and they're very hard to come by. So I would be thrilled to be able to buy a mask that's available. I don't think, being in different parts of the country, you really realize. My sister is in healthcare. She's on the front lines at Baylor University Hospital. They don't even have masks. So
I realize it. Absolutely.
I would just say, people that have the ability to sell masks at this time, and I don't want to get emotional about it, but it would be really nice to be able to buy a mask because they're not available in our city. And we're probably in week 3.5. We haven't even crested yet. And our ordinance now is to go out and wear a mask. And there's a lot of people that don't have them because we, just like toilet paper, people ran on it.
Kim, if I can feel this before Jesse even has to come to any defense for it, but I think that a lot of it is in the approach and in the messaging that goes with it. Jesse, you have a whole section on your blog about how to make masks, all that your people are doing about it. I think sometimes if the message comes across, insensitivity is oftentimes in delivery, and I think it's just, I think the message is when you are approaching something like that, is some money going towards healthcare? Is some money, is there anything being done besides you're capitalizing on a particularly unpleasant period in history? You know, and I think that, so, I mean, I'll let you hit it, Jesse, but I'm seeing a lot
Sure.
about masks, and it really some of it bugs me and some of it doesn't, you know?
We have an absolute shortage of masks where I live in New York, and I think that's true across the country. So I totally hear you, and I understand the need and value for them. I think my note was more the way in which people might capitalize on the moment. And we did an e-blast a few weeks ago now, highlighting 16 of the brands within our own show who are making and selling masks, but they're doing it to raise funds. They're donating money to hospitals, to soup kitchens, to organizations. They're refocusing their efforts in this moment to create them and sell them. So there are definitely masks available for purchase through that blog post, and I certainly didn't intend to plug it in any way. But yes, I agree. Masks are needed. I think it's just more the approach that I was referencing.
Tim, let me go back and ask you something. So how are you communicating with exhibitors and buyers for New York? You know, because we're tied in, and I know that you know, it's right now I'm sure that you're getting a lot of questions, but how are you communicating with exhibitors, you know, effectively, and how are you talking about New York now, for example, when, you know, we don't know when it's going to happen again or how it's going to happen again, but I'm sure you still engage your exhibitors, you still engage your buyers. How are you doing that?
Yeah, there's a couple of different layers to that. I think one of the things we realized early on is that there was a big role for us to play supporting and assisting our buyers and exhibitors. So we went out with buyer and exhibitor surveys to understand what type of resources we could usefully provide that's actionable and relevant. And based on that, we put together a series of, or are putting together a series of webinars and podcasts focused on topics like, how do you put your store online? How do you sell through social media? What do you need to do? What do you need to know before you reopen your store? So I think, you know, we saw actually right now it's about support and assistance. It's about how can everyone navigate through these challenging times. And we've put together a whole information program along those lines, and also a social media campaign, Share, Support, Spend, which is all about keeping small business alive and making sure that dollars are channeled to small businesses, to Jesse's point, rather than to some of the larger behemoths. So that's kind of what we're doing to help right now. I mean, in addition, obviously planning for New York now in August, we are currently surveying buyers and exhibitors, both qualitatively through conversations, but also through surveys to understand how people are feeling about August. You know, naturally, it's really hard to plan right now. There's so much uncertainty every day. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? The news stream changes every day. How do you plan a trade show? I think our message is we're focused on delivering a successful and safe event in August. And if we're unable to do that, clearly we'll look at backup plans and contingencies and see what else we can do. And fundamentally, our role is to bring buyers and sellers together so people can have successful buying seasons, and we want to do that. Hopefully it's in August, but if events get ahead of us, then we'll obviously look at contingency plans.
And at the beginning of this whole thing, somebody, I was talking to one of the editors, to Peter Giannetti, about, you know, what was going to happen. And I said, you know, it's going to be interesting. We're really going to see who has good lemonade recipes in all of this. Is there anything that's happened through here that you thought, you know what, that is a tremendous solution? You know, that's something that's really making lemonade out of lemons. So whether it's somebody in your organization, or, you know, whether it's somebody at retail and you know, in exhibitors, anybody?
I have one story that I just thought was heartwarming. So I was talking with Leon Getz, and he was sharing that he had a rep who services the Fort Worth area, who got in touch with his retailers and volunteered to deliver Easter baskets on behalf of his retailers to consumers. And he delivered dozens of Easter baskets, you know, obviously no charge, just in support of his retailers. And I just thought that was just an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, it's one of those things that people remember afterwards. You know, it's like we keep telling these stories because afterwards people are going to know the people who really reached out when they didn't have to. Anybody else?
Tom, we have an exhibitor in Scotland. It's a home fragrance and candle brand. I thought it was really cool because they partnered with a local distillery to actually make free hand sanitizer they could give away to public-facing workers. So it was a nice way they could pivot their model and work with another small business locally to meet a really pressing need.
Cool. Excellent.
There are so many doing that. It's, I mean, to the earlier conversation, doing that in a way that feels good and feels collaborative. We threw out some feelers to try to source from vendors personal protective equipment, so either masks or hand sanitizers for the summer markets, because we'd rather acquire through vendors. And we kind of thought we'd get a couple, and it just, every day we get another vendor saying, you know, I've turned my production over to make hand sanitizer. I'm supplying my local hospital. I'm happy to sell to you at cost. I mean, it is amazing to me how many vendors are getting involved and supporting their communities. And I hope that we can support as many of them as possible, all of us.
It is truly amazing.
Sorry, Jesse?
I'm just agreeing that it's truly amazing how many of our exhibitors have turned their attention to that. A few come to mind. We've been trying to highlight them pretty frequently. That is sorry, Mom. I'll call you later. I haven't talked to my mother as frequently as I have recently. It's been a great thing to be every day, but I didn't tell her about the webinar. One particular brand, Sigil, which is a fragrance company based in Los Angeles, is moving to make hand sanitizer, and they're selling it on a pay-as-you-wish level, and the money goes to local organizations. That's amazing to me. Lockmasters is another brand that we work with that completely changed their production to make, and they're an industrial design company. They are making visors for hospitals. So many endless stories. It's mind-blowing. It's incredible. So there's a lot of lemonade.
I hope you all create a forum for these stories, because they say a lot about working with you, to hear these stories from all of you. You know, it's while we were sitting here talking about with the last question, we had 3 different people, you know, say how you could get masks from them. Just come up in Q&A. I'm like, not a sales venue, you know, but it was, you know, it was really, really nice. Leana, anything you want to say? I'm sorry.
I was just going to agree. I was going to say we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing a lot of our member companies, you know, alter their production lines to get involved in you know, producing and delivering PPE. So I'm just agreeing with everyone else.
Cool. One last question. So in the last few weeks, we've all found ourselves like doing or not doing things that we never thought that we would do or not do, like cleaning the living room. But anything, what have you found yourself doing where you're like, did I think I'd be here a month ago? Jesse, anything? Got any stories to share?
You know, I'm sheltering in place in a very rural county in upstate New York. And there are a lot of really small businesses around here that are sort of aggregating product from various farms, things that they're making themselves that can be frozen and cooked later. When I go out shopping, instead of going to the grocery store, I'm driving half an hour in multiple directions to go to these small businesses where, you know, they have setups to bring product out to a table, point at the car that's next in line. It's dystopian, but it's also really amazing how quickly everyone has become used to this new world that we're living in, and you're still able to somehow recognize the smile through the mask. That's kind of amazing to me. Just that reality is so new, but so familiar at this point.
people on my street who have not spoken to me in 10 years, like, are waving. I'm like, what? Do you think I'm somebody else because of this? Or it's like, maybe they just don't know who it is. I'm the person you've been ignoring for a decade. So, but, Leana, anything?
You know, frankly, I don't know that I ever thought I would find myself teaching second grade math and being so unbelievably humbled by the process.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of friends in my life who are elementary school teachers, and I have so much respect for them. It is not easy.
Dorothy, what about you?
An incredible silver lining for me. Before COVID, traveled every week because I live in Connecticut and our offices are in Las Vegas, Atlanta, and North Carolina. And so I was always on a plane. And this is the first time in, I don't know how long, that I've been home for consecutive weeks. And so for me, the opportunity to really reconnect with my family, my college-age daughter, my daughter who just graduated, and my fifth grade son, not to mention my husband, has been a gift, really a gift. And then I would say, to Joan's point, look, we all talk to our customers all the time, but the depth of conversation right now is very different. Some of them are hard because anxiety and fear, it's always hard to listen to. And look, we're anxious and fearful too. Our businesses are also significantly compromised, and to feel like we're all in the same boat rowing together, and to really take the time to understand what people are going through. We were all in a big rush previously, and we were all a little bit complacent. And just, it is time to get real and get humble and really talk and really put our money where our mouths are, and to walk the talk. And I think this has been an interesting wake-up call.
Yeah, I agree. And even besides emotional, the functional part of it, like, trend is really, it's funny, trend is slowing down, and it's going to slow down because value is longevity, value is quality. So, you know, I can already feel the wheels like grinding down to, like, it's almost what you were talking about, Jesse. It's about things that you look at in the moment and you see value long-term in it. And, you know, and that's not the seasonal businesses are going away, but it's, you know, there are people who are resisting that and are just, you know, no, we've got to have deco. We've got to keep pushing this. And it's like, no, no, we're not going to, you know, for a while, we're not going to see that because it's opulent, it's inappropriate and whatever. But also just the idea that why do things have to turn so fast? You know, why does product have to turn at a certain rate? Why do trends have to turn at a certain rate? Like, you're really reevaluating those things and saying, do they make sense for our lives at this point versus just being another thing, you know?
Don't get me wrong. Deco is an important part of my life and always will be. I think that it's rethinking production sources, how close to home we're getting things, how we're making things, how people are paid. You know, things cost what they really cost. And we've been living in a world where we pretend like we can just make up the price of something and make it work because we're playing in this kind of global marketplace that has served a purpose in some ways, but I think we're all just looking a little closer to home. We need it all. I need candles, I need vases, I need that still. I just want to be thoughtful about where I'm getting them, you know?
Right. Well, where you're getting it, and also just a reevaluation, not so much of just need, but, you know, the value equation is changing, you know, over and over again. So what is value right now? Is it, you know, is it durability? Is it, you know, a certain look that is going to last beyond a certain, like, seasonal is shifting. So you're seeing it's something sort of temporary. You're seeing a lot less gore in the seasonal assortments that people are doing for this fall, you know, but at the same time, what long-term, there are going to be other shifts, you know, and things that we bring out year and again, year after year, as opposed to the more disposable things. So it's, they're interesting shifts, but I think nothing's not open for discussion, which I love. You know, that's the really refreshing thing about this. So we're going to wrap up. I could talk with all of you all day, but I just wanted to say, you know, it's, I want to thank you for your support. It's been tremendous. Like I said, for as short as Springboard's been in business, you know, our objective was to bring smart people to the table. You all are the smart people. And it's a pleasure to work with you. For all of those watching, if you had things that you wanted to ask that you didn't get to ask because I didn't hit every hand that came up, please email me or email the participants directly. If you want to email me, I will send it to all the participants. If you want to keep webinars like this going, please subscribe. You're registering today is not a subscription, but subscription, we will be happy to keep feeding you information until you're full. So, thanks for joining us today. And thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. It's been just great.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, you have a good day.